And boy, there's a whopper in the Rust shooting case involving not Alec Baldwin, that of course is over, but Halyna Gutierrez Reed.
Yeah, the armorer in that case. Now, there was a stunning revelation last week in the trial against actor Alec Baldwin, and that was because of the dismissal of those charges against him from the judge. But now the attorneys for Gutierrez, they have filed their expedited motion to either dismiss her involuntary manslaughter conviction or grant her a new trial.
The ex-armorer is currently serving 18 months in prison after a jury found her guilty in the shooting death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. Kelly Krapf now joining us. Kelly, you were out there in New Mexico when all of this went down. You covered the Halyna Gutierrez Reed trial as well. You know this case well. To fill us in.
Well, hey there, Ted and Julia. And there is a lot of stuff. This is the expedited motion filed by her attorneys. A lot of stuff in here. This is asking for her to be immediately released, asking for dismissal of the past charges, or in the alternative, a new trial. So Halyna Gutierrez's attorneys are claiming her due process rights were violated due to the suppression of favorable evidence by the state of New Mexico and the Sheriff's Office of Santa Fe. Her attorneys are citing the Alec Baldwin trial, which was just dismissed last week, which they say exposed extreme misconduct by the special prosecutor in this case. They contend the special prosecutor lied under oath in regard to numerous issues, in particular, the evidence of ammunition that a man by the name of Troy Teskey turned over to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office. Jason Bowles, the lead defense attorney in the Gutierrez case, spoke to Julie Grant yesterday about what he says are numerous due process violations. Let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say.
We have found now that we did not get a third expert report from their expert on the firearms. We did not get a completely new interview of Seth Kenney, which, as you might remember, Seth Kenney was one of the key witnesses, one of the key players in this whole matter. And we just found out last week that there were 900 new pages, approximately, turned over of emails and statements of witnesses in the trial that we would have been able to cross-examine them on. So it's actually beyond the pale. You cannot conduct a trial in an unfair manner as a prosecutor. You put it all out there and let the jury decide. But what happened here is we had things hidden from us, and that's not fair.
And you just heard Jason Bowles talking about it. The defense is addressing the suppression of, as he just said, possibly 900 more pages of material that was not disclosed to the defense in this case, including a report that the firearm that was used by Alec Baldwin during the Rust movie rehearsal, where cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was killed, had unexplained tool marks to the trigger that were not the result of FBI damage and not from the original manufacturer, which could support Alec Baldwin's claim that he never pulled the trigger and that gun that you're looking at right there actually did malfunction. Now, under the statute in which Gutierrez was convicted, the Defendant's Act had to be a significant cause of death that was not interrupted by an outside event. So what her defense counsel is arguing is that there was an interruption, these unexplained alterations to the trigger seal that led to a freak malfunction, which they say caused that gun to misfire. This information was not known during Halyna Gutierrez's trial. Now, the state has 14 days to file a response to the defense motion, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the state comes up with. Ted and Julia?
Yeah, and who's going to write that motion for the state? It'll be interesting to see if Carrie Morrissey's still involved to the point where she wants to take this on, because we know that Linda Johnson bailed.
Right, they're all special prosecutors.
Yeah, it's turned into a mess. Kelly Krapf, thank you so much. Let's bring in trial attorney Jessica Ehrlich for her opinion here. It does seem like there's a there, especially post-Baldwin revelations. Your thoughts on what the judge should do in this case?
Absolutely. I mean, it will be fascinating, I think, as Kelly said, to see what the response is from the state. I think certainly this rises to the level of at least there should be, a retrial in this matter. Certainly it would be up to the judge to dismiss or to, reduce the sentence, to dismiss the last trial. I think that's a very viable option, particularly given the fact that Halyna Gutierrez has been serving time and received the stiffest sentence possible. So it definitely seems, that a miscarriage of justice, is possible here, and particularly from the criminal standpoint. So this is going to be, a very, very intense and difficult time, I think, for the judge. And we'll see what, she says and what the state of New Mexico has to say in response, which will be very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. And they'll have to answer this question again that they had to answer in front of the judge last week about Troy Teske and this live ammo that was turned over after the Halyna Gutierrez trial. But we did learn that in the Halyna Gutierrez trial, they did know about the Troy Teske ammunition. I want to play some sound from that interview that Julie Grant did with Jason Bowles, where he talked about why they didn't call Troy Teske to the stand during Hannah's trial.
I did know about Troy Teske, and we had been asking them for years, the prosecution for years, to come and pick up these rounds and test them. Troy Teske had rounds from the same batch that went to Seth Kenney on the 1883 set through Thel Reed. So we had been asking him, test these rounds and see if they match the live rounds from the Rust set. The sheriff wouldn't pick him up. Then in November of 2023, Carrie Morrissey interviewed Seth Kenney and said, we are going to have law enforcement come get them. So please preserve them. So that's what Troy did. He didn't do anything with them. He waited. We waited. Again, the prosecution never came and picked him up, never tested him. So the problem is they just denied the opportunity for us to determine if those match the live rounds.
So, Jessica, it seems like there were a lot of people who knew about this ammunition, but the defense for Alec Baldwin said that it wasn't properly turned over to them, and you have Halyna Gutierrez's side saying it wasn't tested by the prosecution. What are the requirements for prosecutors during discovery?
I mean, absolutely. Not turning over the information is, a huge issue, which was definitely what was the case in the Alec Baldwin matter. In this case, it's the testing, which is so crucial because, at the very least, they have to be tested by an expert because it could be material of interest to the case and could exonerate the defendant. So with Halyna Gutierrez, the best thing and the easiest thing for the state to have done is to pick up the ammunition, have it tested, not just eyeballed by anybody in the office as they said they did. Oh, they looked at it, they didn't think it matched. That's not sufficient. They have to do the testing because then it goes in their favor. If it comes back that, see, we said there's no relevance here, great, you move on and it's one less argument that the defense has. If you don't test it and you just sit it there and then also put it assigned to a different matter as it was somehow in the back of, all of those things are just a mishandling. This could have been so easily resolved and never been an issue if it had been handled properly from the get-go by the state of New Mexico.
Absolutely, because really, especially with the Baldwin case, it had nothing to do with the allegations against him. He was accused of his behavior being reckless on that set. The origin of the live rounds wasn't germane to his case, but to Jessica's point, you got to play by the rules, and that's what Judge Mary Marlowe absolutely was disgusted. You could feel it in that courtroom when this started to snowball.
You said you could tell that it was going against the prosecution.
It was just a matter of was it going to be with or without prejudice, and it'll be interesting with Hannah because the same thing with Mary Marlowe Summer when she sentenced Halyna Gutierrez. She was very clear that this was Hannah's fault. She said, you and you alone were the cause of this. And that necessarily wasn't the case in the Baldwin trial. So what will she do? It's back in her lap.
Will she let her out pending appeal is one of my questions.
Yes, just not like messy investigations, especially when they come out and make a very strong statement like she did in the closing there, where it was based on the evidence that was presented at trial. If there is additional evidence that had not been handled correctly, judges just do not like it, especially in a high-profile case like this one.
Absolutely. All right, if you want to watch the Halyna Gutierrez trial, you can. You can watch the legendary trials on Court TV. Go to courttv.com for information how you can stream it. You can stream the whole trial. It is up there for your enjoyment.